The desperate call, the morning sky over. Ethros burned with an unnatural crimson glow. Dr. Lysa Corvin pressed her six-fingered hand against the laboratory window, watching as another transport vessel descended toward the medical complex. Inside that vessel were 43 more victims of the plague that was slowly devouring her world. The Zephyrian homeworld had always been a beacon of peace in the outer spiral arm. Their crystalline cities rose like frozen music from emerald plains, and their people lived in harmony with the planet's natural rhythms. The Zephyrians were known throughout the galaxy as healers and teachers, their medical knowledge sought by dozens of species. But now, their own expertise seemed worthless against an enemy they couldn't understand. Dr. Corvin turned back to her research station, her elongated fingers dancing across holographic displays showing cellular breakdowns and genetic maps. The plague had appeared 6 months ago, starting in the agricultural districts before spreading to the cities. It didn't kill quickly like most diseases. Instead, it seemed to rewrite the victims' biology, slowly transforming their cellular structure into something else entirely. The affected areas of the body became hard, crystalline, but not dead. They remained conscious, feeling everything as their flesh turned to living stone. Any progress, Lysa? Ambassador Thielen entered the lab, his formal robes rustling with each step. The elderly Zephyrian's face showed the strain of the past months, deep lines etched around his silver eyes. The same results, Dr. Corvin replied, her voice heavy with exhaustion. Every treatment we try either has no effect or accelerates the transformation. The Altarian medical team left yesterday after their quantum therapy failed. The Nexus Consortium's bioengineers departed 3 days ago. Thielen moved closer to examine the test samples floating in containment fields. Each one showed different stages of the plague's progression, organic tissue gradually becoming something that resembled living crystal. The Galactic Medical Council sent their final report this morning. They're classifying our situation as a Category 5 extinction event. The words hit Dr. Corvin like a physical blow. Category 5 meant the galactic community had given up. No more aid ships, no more research teams, no more hope from the civilized galaxy. They were writing off an entire species. There is one option we haven't explored, Thielen said quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Corvin looked up from her work, seeing something in the ambassador's expression that she'd never seen before. Fear, yes, but also a desperate kind of determination. What option? The Terran Collective. The name hung in the air like a curse. Dr. Corvin's breathing apparatus fluttered with shock. You can't be serious. The humans are barely considered civilized. They're a Deathworld species, Thielen. Their own planet tried to kill them for millions of years. Exactly, Thielen replied. They understand survival in ways we don't. They've faced extinction and fought their way back from the edge more times than any other known species. Dr. Corvin had heard the stories, of course. Every species in the galaxy knew about Earth, though most preferred not to discuss it. A world of extreme weather, massive predators, and constant natural disasters. The humans who had emerged from that nightmare were considered dangerous by most galactic standards. They solved problems through methods that made other species uncomfortable. They were innovators, yes, but their innovations often came at costs that civilized societies weren't willing to pay. The Galactic Council would condemn us for even making contact, Dr. Corvin said. Humans are restricted from most sectors for good reason. The Galactic Council has already condemned us, Thielen replied. They've abandoned us to die slowly while they establish quarantine barriers around our system. At least the humans might actually try to help. Through the laboratory's windows, another medical transport was landing. Dr. Corvin could see the shimmer of containment fields around the patients being unloaded. More of her people, More victims of a plague she couldn't cure with all her knowledge and all the galaxy's assistance. If we contact them, she said slowly, there's no going back. Once humans become involved in something, they change it completely. Nothing remains the same. Look around, Lysa, Phelan said, gesturing toward the diseased tissue samples. Nothing is going to remain the same anyway. That evening, Dr. Corvin stood in the communication center of the planetary capital, watching, as technicians prepared to send a message across interstellar space. The message was simple but unprecedented. The peaceful Zephyrians were about to call upon the galaxy's most feared species for help. The transmission crossed space at faster-than-light speeds, carrying its desperate plea through dozens of relay stations until it reached the edge of human space. The response came faster than anyone had expected. Not in days or weeks, but in hours. Zephyrian Medical Authority, this is Captain Marcus Reed of the Human Expeditionary Vessel Perseverance. We received your distress call regarding the biological crisis on Ethros. We are dispatching a research team immediately. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. Please prepare detailed biological samples and complete medical records for our review. We'll solve this. A transmission ended with typical human bluntness. No diplomatic pleasantries. No discussions of payment or political implications. Just a simple statement that they would solve the problem, as if it were already decided. 3 days later, Dr. Corvin stood on the landing platform as a human ship descended from orbit. The vessel looked nothing like the elegant craft favored by other galactic species. It was blocky, heavily armored, and covered in sensors and equipment pods. It landed with a mechanical precision that somehow seemed aggressive, as if the ship itself was ready for war. The humans who emerged were smaller than most galactic species, but moved with a fluid confidence that made them seem larger. Their leader, Commander Yarick Stone, was a compact man with steel-gray hair and eyes that seemed to catalog everything they saw. Behind him came Dr. Sarah Chun, the expedition's xenobiologist, carrying equipment cases that Dr. Corvin didn't recognize. Dr. Corvin, Commander Stone said, extending his hand in the human greeting gesture. We're here to help. Where are your worst cases? The directness was startling. No formal introductions, no diplomatic protocols. Dr. Corvin found herself leading them directly to the medical complex, explaining the plague's progression as they walked. Dr. Chun asked rapid-fire questions about symptoms, progression rates, and previous treatments, taking notes on a device that recorded everything. In the medical ward, the humans examined patients with an intensity that made Dr. Corvin uncomfortable. They took samples of everything: diseased tissue, blood, even atmospheric readings from around each patient. Their equipment was unlike anything the Zephyrians had seen, combining multiple scanning technologies into devices that seemed almost alive with sensor data. Interesting, Dr. Chun murmured, studying readings from a patient whose left arm had completely crystallized. The transformation isn't random. There's a definite pattern to the cellular restructuring. Asterisk, we've noted that, Dr. Corvin said, but we can't determine the mechanism causing it. That's because you're thinking of it as a disease, Commander Stone said, examining crystallized tissue under a microscope. This isn't a pathogen. It's something else entirely. Dr. Chun looked up from her scanner, her expression troubled. Commander, I'm reading massive quantum fluctuations in the crystallized areas. The atomic structure is actively changing at the subatomic level. Quantum plague, Stone said grimly. I was hoping I was wrong. Dr. Corvin felt her breathing apparatus flutter with alarm. You've seen this before? Not exactly, Stone replied. But we've dealt with quantum-level biological threats. Earth went through something similar about 200 years ago, though our version was different. We called it the Gray Death. The casual way he mentioned Earth's near extinction made Dr. Corvin realize just how different humans were from her people. They spoke of planetary catastrophes, the way others might discuss weather patterns. How did you stop it? She asked Dot Stone, and Chun exchanged a look that spoke of shared knowledge and shared costs. We didn't stop it, Stone said quietly. We learned to live with it. But your situation is different. This can be cured, but the method will need to. Use ... double quotes. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. Your people might not approve of our approach. Our people are dying, Dr. Corvin said firmly. Whatever you need to do, we'll support you. Dr. Chun shook her head slowly. Dr. Corvin, you don't understand. Human medical practices aren't like yours. We don't just treat symptoms or try to restore the original state. When we face something like this, we adapt. We change. Sometimes we have to become something new to survive. The implications of her words sent chills through Dr. Corvin's system. She was beginning to understand why the rest of the galaxy feared. Human intervention. They didn't just solve problems. They transformed them entirely, often transforming themselves in the process. Ambassador Thailand approached their group, having observed the examination from a distance. Humans, he said formally, what do you need from us to proceed? The price of salvation. The human medical facility that had been constructed overnight looked more like a military installation than a hospital. Dr. Corvin walked through corridors filled with equipment that hummed and glowed with unfamiliar energy. The humans worked with a methodical intensity that both impressed and frightened her. They had converted an entire wing of the medical complex into something that operated by their rules, their methods, their disturbing willingness to try things that no other species would consider. Dr. Sarachun stood before a holographic display, showing the quantum structure of the plague at the molecular level. Beside her, Commander Stone studied readouts from patients who had volunteered for the experimental treatment. The first test subjects had been in the facility for 18 hours, and the results were unlike anything Dr. Corvin had ever witnessed. The quantum resonance therapy is working, Dr. Chun announced to the assembled Zephyrian medical staff, but not in the way you might expect. She manipulated the hologram, showing before and after cellular scans. The crystalline plague formations were indeed disappearing, but the tissue that remained was different from normal Zephyrian biology. It was stronger, more resilient, with cellular structures that seemed almost hybrid in nature. You're not curing them, Dr. Corvin said, her voice filled with amazement and concern. You're changing them into something else. We're giving them the tools to fight the plague themselves, Commander Stone corrected. The quantum manipulation doesn't remove the plague's effects. It teaches their bodies to incorporate and control those effects. One of the test subjects, a young Zephyrian named Kilos, emerged from the treatment chamber. His left arm, which had been completely crystallized when he'd entered, now showed patches of normal flesh, intermixed with areas that seemed to shimmer between organic and crystalline states. But he was alive, conscious, and most importantly, he was in control of the transformation. I can feel it, Kilos said, flexing his hybrid arm. The crystalline areas are part of me now, but they respond to my will. I can make them grow or recede. Dr. Corvin scanned Kilos with her medical instruments, hardly believing the readings. His immune system had been fundamentally altered. His cellular structure now included quantum-stable elements that made him resistant not just to the plague, but to most known biological threats. He had become something new, something that bridged the gap between organic life and quantum crystalline. Matter. This is impossible, whispered Dr. Valen, one of the senior Zephyrian physicians. You can't just rewrite a species' fundamental biology. We can and we have, Dr. Chun said matter-of-factly. This is what human medicine does. We don't just treat diseases. We evolve beyond them. Ambassador Thielen entered the facility at that moment, followed by several members of the Planetary Council. Their expressions showed a mixture of hope and horror as they witnessed what the humans had accomplished. Behind them came High Counselor Zirion, the most senior member of Zephyrian government, his ancient face grave with the weight of impossible decisions. "Report," Zarian said simply. Commander Stone stepped forward, his military bearing evident in every gesture. "High Counselor, we can cure every infected individual on your planet within 30 days. The treatment has a 97% success rate. Side effects include enhanced immune systems, increased physical resilience, and improved longevity." "And the cost?" Zarian asked, his silver eyes fixed on Stone's face. "Your people will be changed," Stone replied without hesitation. "They'll still be Zephyrian, but they'll be something more. Something adapted. The galaxy will no longer recognize you as the same species." The silence that followed was profound. Dr. Corvin watched as the weight of the choice settled on the council members. Save their people by becoming something new, or maintain their original form and accept extinction. Dr. Chun activated another holographic display, this one showing projections of treated Zephyrians over time. The changes stabilize after about 6 months, she explained. The hybrid biology becomes permanent, heritable. Your children will be born with natural immunity to quantum-based threats. They'll also have capabilities you've never possessed. She showed images of test subjects demonstrating enhanced strength, the ability to interface directly with crystalline technology, and most remarkably, a form of quantum perception that allowed them to see beyond normal electromagnetic spectrums. "You're offering us evolution," High Counselor Zarian said slowly. "We're offering you survival," Commander Stone corrected. "Everything else is consequence." One of the council members, Advisor Zelthan, stepped forward with obvious agitation. "This is monstrous. You're talking about changing our essential nature. We won't be Zephyrian anymore. You won't be dead either," Dr. Chun replied with characteristic human bluntness. "And your new capabilities will make you one of the most adaptable species in the galaxy." Dr. Corvin found herself speaking before she realized it. "I volunteer for the full treatment." Everyone turned to stare at her. The lead scientist who had first called for human help was now asking to become their first complete test case. "Lysa," Ambassador Thielen said urgently, "you don't know what you're asking." "I know exactly what I'm asking," she replied firmly. "I've spent months watching my people die, while the galaxy's best medical minds stood helpless. The humans offer a solution. If there are risks, I'll take them first." Commander Stone studied her for a long moment. "Dr. Corvin, the full treatment will take 72 hours. You'll experience complete cellular reconstruction. There's a small chance you won't survive, and a certainty that you'll never be same." Dr. Corvin looked around the room at her people's faces, seeing fear, hope, and desperate uncertainty. "My people need someone to show them the path forward. I'll be that person." The treatment began that evening. Dr. Corvin was placed in a quantum resonance chamber that looked more like a cocoon than medical equipment. As the treatment progressed, her body began to change at the fundamental level. Her cellular structure was rewritten, incorporating quantum-stable elements that allowed her to process and control the plague's effects. The humans monitored every moment of the process with instruments that recorded changes Dr. Corvin couldn't have imagined. Her consciousness remained intact throughout, but she could feel herself becoming something new. Her perception expanded, her physical capabilities enhanced, and most remarkably, she began to understand the quantum nature of reality itself. When she emerged after 3 days, Dr. Corvin was still recognizably Zephyrian, but she was also something more. Her skin held patches that could shift between organic and crystalline states at will. Her eyes could see quantum fluctuations directly. Her mind could process information at speeds that amazed even the humans. "How do you feel?" Dr. Chun asked, scanning her with medical instruments. Alive, Dr. Corvin replied, her voice carrying new harmonics that resonated with quantum frequencies. More alive than I've ever been. Word of her successful transformation spread across the planet within hours. The Zephyrian people faced their choice: accept human transformation and survive as something new, or maintain their original form and face extinction. The decision wasn't made in council chambers or government buildings. It was made in homes and hospitals, by families watching loved ones suffer from the plague. One by one, individuals came forward asking for treatment. Parents brought children. Partners came together. Within a week, thousands of Zephyrians had volunteered for the transformation. The humans worked tirelessly, their medical facilities operating around the clock. They showed no judgment about the choice each Zephyrian made, treating those who accepted transformation and providing comfort care for those who refused with equal dedication. As the weeks passed, a new society began to emerge on Ethros. The transformed Zephyrians retained their culture and values, but they also developed new capabilities and perspectives. They began to understand technology in ways they never had before, to perceive the universe through quantum awareness, and to possess physical resilience that made them nearly immune to most forms of disease or injury. The unchanged Zephyrians struggled with fear and resentment, but the transformed ones showed them that their essential nature, their compassion and wisdom, remained intact. They were still Zephyrian, but they were also something new. Commander Stone stood with Dr. Corvin on the observation deck of the medical facility, watching as the last of the treatment facilities processed their final patients. In 6 months, the plague had been eliminated from Ethros. But more than that, the Zephyrians had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that had chosen to evolve beyond its original form. The galaxy won't know what to make of you, Stone said quietly. They'll learn, Dr. Corvin replied, her quantum-enhanced senses perceiving patterns in the data around them that would have been invisible before. We'll show them that survival doesn't have to mean losing who you are. It can mean becoming who you need to be. The human ships departed Ethros a month later, leaving behind a transformed world and a transformed people. The Zephyrians had called for help, and the galaxy's most dangerous species had answered. But in saving them, the humans had done something more profound. They had shown that survival and evolution could be choices rather than accidents. In the years that followed, the hybrid Zephyrians would become explorers, innovators, and teachers. In their own right, they carried with them both the wisdom of their original culture and the adaptive resilience they had learned from humanity. They became living proof that sometimes, to save what matters most, you have to be willing to become something new. The galaxy had feared human intervention, and they had been right to do so. The humans had changed everything. But sometimes, change was exactly what was needed for survival.